Hey, indie filmmakers, I'm Griffin Hammond.
I'm Nick Bodmer, and on this week's episode, Griffin's family deals with an emergency.
Plus, your questions about crop focal lengths, tracking freelance hours, and the best headphones for under $100. Hello,
Mr.
Nick.
Hammond, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I guess I'm okay. But you already know...
A crazy weekend, yeah.
Yeah, you already know the story about what happened to my mom this week, which I figured we could share with the podcast audience, many of which who wouldn't have heard this yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, first of all, people may know my mom from, I think it was episode 54.
Yes, she sat down and answered some questions, right? During your live episode. We were really cool kids in high school, let me tell you.
You were. You were a lovely group.
In fact, that was kind of a nice episode because my mom and I had never really talked face to face about like me getting like kicked out of college when I was 19.
When you were a troubled youth.
Right.
Well, let's not leave him in suspense. Your mom is okay, right?
Yes, my mom is okay. But I want to start by just playing you the voicemail that I received. It was 5:14 a.m. her time in Illinois when she left me this voicemail. I don't think you've heard this.
Hey, Griff, it's Mom. My apartment's on fire inside the apartment. And I love you, sweetie. Bye.
Yeah, that's brutal. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It makes me feel sick.
I know. And I was sad that I didn't get the call right away. I got the voicemail when I woke up, maybe an hour later. So when I called her back, she was fine. She was out of the apartment. But we were all pretty sad because the cat was missing, her cat named Axel.
Ugh.
And so we didn't, I'll just briefly tell you how this went down. She woke up to her smoke alarm, which good. The smoke alarms are working. You need working smoke alarms. And she opens up her bedroom door because she keeps her animals out of her bedroom. And as soon as she opens it up, the whole apartment's full of smoke. She can already see like embers in the hallway. Like the fire's already like coming through the floor from the apartment below. So she grabs the dog and runs out of the apartment. By the time she even grabs the dog, now there's like flames in the apartment. And she told me that she tried to call 911 several times, but was kind of struggling with it. I think she was like dialing 911 and not pushing the call button.
Right.
And what's crazy is that she doesn't remember doing this, but her neighbors say that afterward, they were saying that she came around and she knocked on everyone's doors after she called 911, I guess, right? I don't know, maybe it was before, I don't know. But she got everyone up in the apartment building. There's 7 people in the apartment. And so they all got out. The firefighters showed up. It sounds like it took them about half an hour to put out the fire. The inspector says that she probably saved people's lives. 1, by waking them up. 2, by calling 911 immediately. 3, because she keeps bedroom doors closed. And the fire actually kind of stayed contained in her hallway between her 2 bedrooms and didn't spread to the bedrooms because the doors were closed.
Yeah, that's hugely important at night when you're sleeping. You want those bedroom doors closed. It's kind of amazing. You can see the before and after pictures of, what a room with the door closed looks like after a fire, because it really does contain it for a long time.
Yeah, and your wife, Kristen, is the daughter of a fire inspector, right?
That's right. Yes. So we do a lot of fire safety in our house. That's right.
Yeah.
Let's see. What are the big ones? Bedroom doors closed. Change your smoke detector batteries every 6 months. So we do it anytime when we change the clocks. Spring forward, fall back. We always change all the smoke detector batteries. And
I've always heard that advice
spot for your family.
Back when I worked at State Farm Insurance, we would talk about changing your smoke detector batteries every time we change the clocks. But in retrospect, I think that's funny because you're supposed to do it every 6 months, and we change our clocks every it's 8 months and then 4 months.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That tells you how much I know about that. But it's a rough approximation of a time to remember to do it, right?
Right.
And that's right. You have a history of fire prevention PSAs, don't you?
Yeah, we used to do those turkey fryer videos and stuff. But what's crazy is, like, now that I'm going through this with my mom, realizing that how little I know about the insurance claim process. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second, but I want to say real quick what happened to the cat.
Right.
Who
so she got out with the
inside the
dog,
apartment.
and it kind of seemed like the cat was probably gone.
Right. We just assumed that Axel couldn't have survived this, especially, I mean, even if the fire didn't spread, there's the smoke inhalation is the danger. But after the firefighters put out the fire, they found the cat. He, years ago, burrowed a hole inside an ottoman cushion, like the ottoman at the base of her chair that she sits at. He like goes underneath and there's like a hole in the cushion and he hides in there when he's scared. And he's been doing that for years. But he did that during the fire. He just stayed inside this ottoman. And he stayed out of danger, and it seems like he stayed away from all the smoke and was fine.
Good.
Yeah.
How long? So did a firefighter found the cat and brought him out, basically? Is that what happened?
I think so. Or I think maybe when the fire was out, they like brought her in. They were able to find the cat. Yeah.
Crazy.
But this, like, it
Well,
made
I'm
the
really
local
glad
news
she's okay.
in... Yeah. I'm so glad that she was the first out, and that she... Sounds like she was heroic, too.
Yeah. Impressive.
But this made the local news in Bloomington. I think 7 people... I mean, the building is not livable now. So everyone's out. The Red Cross was helping people out, giving them a little bit of money and helping. I mean, the property manager is doing relocation. It's kind of incredible how well this is all going, because my mom already has a new apartment that's about ready to move into. She's in a hotel at the moment. But I was worried that this would be like a months-long restoration process and she'd be homeless, but actually things seem to be moving along pretty well.
Excellent. Good. I'm glad they're taking care of her.
Yeah. So yeah, like originally when like the moment this happened, I thought, this probably will be something that I'll mention on the podcast, and part of me wondered if I should have done like a GoFundMe or something, because I thought, this is certainly going to stress her finances, and I sent $1,000 to her. This was actually like right after I was there. I was there doing
You just left.
Yeah, so I felt really bad. I couldn't just like turn around and be there again. But luckily my sister lives in Chicago, so she took the train down, and she was super helpful being there on the ground, helping my mom shop for, like, she needed clothes and things like that.
Oh, so scary.
Yeah.
So glad it had a happy ending too.
Now I would have felt foolish if I did like a GoFundMe or something, because like everything seems to be under control. The insurance company, I mean, she has renter's insurance, which is important, and so they're covering the hotel. They're going to cover a lot of things, but what I was surprised about is that not only do they don't just like give you a check at the end for all your stuff that burned up or is damaged by smoke. They'll actually go in and assess what things may be salvaged. I mean, some clothes, you may be able to wash them a few times and they're fine. Some furniture, you may be able to clean it up. So they're actually going to bring in contractors and fix things that can be fixed, and then throw out the things that shouldn't be fixed. Like your bed should just be thrown out.
Right.
I think they've already worked with the mattress company to get a new mattress. So it's not just money and then you're on your own. They actually restore you. They try to put your life back together.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. My mom was sad that one of the things in her living room that I think is damaged and not repairable is, you've probably seen this picture before. We have like a family portrait of like my dad, my mom, and my sister and I from, this was like a year before my dad died. So this is probably like in 2004, 2005, we took this picture. And my mom was really sad that this picture was gone. And I was like, well, Mom, I have a digital copy of it.
Like, we can print a new one.
Yeah. Although I realized my copy...
frame and get nice and sent over to her.
Yeah. I realized my digital copy is okay. Like I think it's I don't know what the resolution is. It's not quite giant resolution. You know, it's probably, the thing might be, it might be 1200 pixels wide or something. Like, it's not quite
like a
print
Facebook
resolution.
copy or something.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it will be a lot better than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's been an interesting thought exercise to go through and think about. I'm also in a small apartment, and if there was a fire here, it could spread quickly, and a lot of my things could be gone. So just thinking about how would I escape quickly, having an escape plan, are my smoke detectors working, but also thinking about the insurance process, like what, you know, do I have a record of the things I own, and especially like my camera gear, what would I do if all that was damaged?
Yeah. You'll have to go back to splitting gear with me.
Yeah.
We'll be a team again.
Well, part of me thinks like, I mean, some things I may be lucky, you know, if I lost all my Panasonic cameras, like I have a relationship with Panasonic, I may not need to have those insured. I mean, I should have them insured, but I have other ways of attaining gear again. And there's certainly some things I could buy again, but I need to make sure that my renter's insurance policy has that rider for equipment, because I'm sure my camera gear is bigger than the amount the basic plan allows, right?
Yeah, you would think, right? And if it's a business, you know, equipment, they might give you a hard time too, I would think. So definitely something to ask your agent about.
Yeah. Yeah, so I should really do an audit of everything I have and make sure it's all covered correctly. Because I don't think they can send in a contractor and like fix a Panasonic GH5 if it has melted a little bit or something. I think that's a total loss.
I wonder if just doing like a walkthrough of your entire apartment with a wide angle lens and just shoot a video so that you have a record of all the stuff that's in your apartment might not be a bad idea.
I did that a few years ago, or maybe a year ago. I recognized that it'd be almost impossible for me to just like make a full list of everything in the apartment. That would just take forever, and that's always changing. So I did just kind of go around and make sure I have a decent photograph of every angle of every room. I mean, that was actually, you could do this in 10 minutes. Just go around with your camera, bring a light to make sure everything's kind of like clear, and just take a photo of every closet, every room, and you're taking it in high res. And later, if you had to, you could zoom in and go, I mean, even if you can't see everything, you can, and it doesn't even necessarily need to be a perfect record of everything, but it can jog your memory and help you make that list later if you need to, or prove something if you had to the insurance company.
Yeah, when I moved out of my old house and moved into this house, that was a rental house I was moving out of. So I did something, I mean, it's not the same thing, but I hit record and I walked through every room and every closet, basically just to like prove how I was leaving the property. Yeah. In case somebody ever came back to me and said, hey, you did this or that, I can be like, well, let's review the tape, shall we?
Right. That's one thing I feel like it's like a special talent you have as a video or a photo person. Like, you just think to capture things that other people might not. And you like think to capture them well. Like, I'm going to make sure I'm using a shutter speed where not everything's blurry, and I'm going to need to be able to reference this later.
Well, shall we move on to our hard-hitting topic for hashtag Ask Griffin?
Yes. Let's answer this week's Ask Griffin question.
All right, this is a tough one, so strap in. Hashtag Ask Griffin comes from Philip Nichols today. Do you prefer shoes that slip on or have laces? I feel that like laces are a waste of my precious time. I like this question.
I agree.
Slip on or laces?
Sometimes I feel like laces do waste my time. Although most of my shoes do have laces. Well, pretty much all of my shoes. Although I do find myself always slipping into my Brooks running shoes because they're easy to slip in and out of.
Aren't running shoes supposed to be tight?
Yeah, but I don't know. There's something about the I use a Brooks Pure Cadence shoe, and it just has like a really solid back to it that doesn't seem to like, you know, like you shove your foot in.
Smash down,
yeah, it doesn't deform. Yeah, it's just real easy to, even though it is tight, it's easy to slip on, and so I find myself wearing those a lot, just to like run out and do an errand.
I have 2 pairs of shoes that are kind of my everyday go-to-work shoes, and one of the 2 pairs is slip-ons, and I do enjoy the slip-ons. I know this was Ask Griffin, not Ask Nick, but just wanted to share.
Hey, before we...
So thank you to Philip Nichols for that question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Philip. I was going to say, before we get to our filmmaking questions today, I just want to mention that I will be in Los Angeles in June giving a presentation.
I'm shaking my head. The timing is poor.
Oh, yeah. We realized that Nick is going to be in New York at the same weekend that I need to be in L.A.
So we're gonna cross in the air.
But Sammy's camera in L.A. is running an event called PHOTOCON L.A.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 3-day photo and cinema learning event. There's going to be a bunch of keynote speakers, and it's a big expo, trade show kind of environment. Lots of special guests. And guess who the very first keynote presentation will be from?
Griffin Hammond.
That's right. The famous filmmaker Griffin Hammond.
Griffin Hammond. Oh my gosh.
So my presentation,
I'm flying as far away as I possibly can. I'm
right.
literally going to the opposite side of the country. I just don't care.
My presentation will open the conference on Friday, June 8th. I think it's a 1:30 p.m. event. It's just I'm giving a presentation called Traveling Light While Filmmaking.
It sounds like right up your alley.
Right.
No, we went to Sammy's camera. I remember when we went to LA to shoot Sriracha, we went there and rented a light. So I have been there.
Yeah.
Good talk.
I think this is actually the second time I've done an event sponsored by them.
Well, we've got some questions. You want to get to them?
Yeah.
We've got a YouTube comment from Dara Malloy. Dara, probably.
Dara?
Hey, guys, are the Panasonic lenses their actual focal length when you're using the GH5, or do you have to calculate the crop factor?
So you don't need to calculate a crop factor. That is their true focal length, but you would have to calculate a crop factor if you're comparing this to a Canon camera. I actually realized that it wasn't until today when I looked it up. I didn't really understand what focal length means. I've just always been thinking of them as relative numbers to each other.
Yeah. And what did you determine?
That the distance, like if we're talking about a 35 millimeter lens, that means that the center of the glass, or the, I don't know how you define it, the main part of the lens, is 35 millimeters away from the sensor. When infinity is in focus, when it's at that position. So that would explain why a longer lens literally is longer, because it needs to be further away from the sensor. 200 millimeter lens is 200 millimeters away from the sensor.
Then. What about, you've got like a 20 millimeter pancake lens, which is very close to the sensor, and then you could have a 20 millimeter normal lens that definitely extends farther out.
Yeah, I think that's like the basic physics of it, and then I think you can design lenses that are much more complicated and create that look.
Cheat that? Okay.
Yeah, but that's a telling thing to at least think about, though, because it means that a 35 millimeter lens is the same regardless what sensor you have. A 35 millimeter lens is going to be the same distance from the sensor, but that means that a 35 millimeter lens will look differently on different sensors because it's a consistent distance, but the sensor might be smaller on a crop camera. That means you'll have a smaller or a tighter image with a 35 millimeter lens on a crop sensor camera versus a full frame.
And tell me if I'm thinking about this right. The compression of the frame is going to be the same. Just because you crop in on it, that's different than like an actual zoom, which is going to change the parallax between the foreground and the background, right? So that parallax should be the same on every camera system, and then it's just how much of a crop of that image are you taking? Am I thinking about that the right way?
Yeah, I think you're right. That I would assume that the compression on like someone's face, the distortion that you apply to someone in front of you, should look the same. Just one is going to be a tighter shot than the other.
Yep. Okay. That's what I thought.
But to Dara's point, that means that when you have, let's think about like the lens I'm shooting with right now on my Panasonic is a 12 millimeter. If I wanted to compare that to a Canon full frame, I could double it to 24, and that's roughly going to be the same field of view.
Right.
So if you're used to Canon shooting on 24, now you kind of know what a 12 millimeter field of view looks like on a crop camera like mine. But I guess I don't even think about that. I'm always shooting on a Micro Four Thirds sensor, so I only think about, I know what my 12 millimeter looks like, and I know how it compares to my other lenses. So they're all relative to each other within that camera system.
Yep.
Here's an email we got from Austin, who says he's terrible at keeping track of hours that he works on stuff. So presumably we're thinking about freelance work maybe, and he needs to track what he's doing. So he's wondering, is there a way to look at like the metadata on his computer to see what apps he has open? Maybe that's one way to time it. He says he has a mile tracker for tax deductions. So what do we do to keep track of our work?
Well, I know there are plenty of apps out there that can help with this. I have not played with any of them because I, in general, didn't bill hourly. So it's not something I've messed with before. Do you have a solution for this, or do you just kind of wing it?
I just do it myself. I just track it in like a notepad app. I just pull up text edit on my Mac, and as I'm editing, I just write down, oh look, it's 11:45 a.m. I'm editing, and when I stop an hour and a half later, I put that in time. And I just try to, every time I start and stop, do that. Although I have heard of, I can't remember what the names of them are, but there are apps that will tell you exactly how long you spent in Final Cut versus how long you spent surfing the web and all of that, if you really are someone who has trouble focusing. But actually, there's a product that keeps getting advertised to me. I don't know if it's because Google Ads knows that I'm a freelancer, but there's this thing called Timeular. Have you ever heard of this?
Uh-uh.
It looks like one of those like multi-sided die that you would use for role-playing.
Okay.
Maybe like a giant version of it. I can't actually tell how big this thing is, but it looks like maybe it has like 8 sides or something. And the idea is you just turn it to whichever side represents the activity you're doing, and I guess it just knows how it's oriented. So it is a timer that is keeping track of how long it is sitting on each side of itself.
Okay.
Which
so you
sounds like
rotate
it's
it to client A side when you're working on their stuff, and okay.
Yeah, it sounds like it's
And
ideal
it's just
for
a nice physical object to help you do
Right.
it until you forget and let it run overnight or something. But
I can imagine like a PR person doing that when they have multiple clients they're working for. I know that people like that. I've actually heard of companies where every 15 minutes, like if you're at a PR agency, your computer just bugs you and says, hey, what are you working on right now? And that's one way to log hours for clients.
seems like lawyers and stuff probably have solutions for that as well.
Yeah.
So we got an email from Warren in Seattle. I will be filming a speaker at a solar conference and need to select a good lav mic to pair with my GH5. Any suggestions regarding a good mic and good wireless connection equipment?
First of all, I'm just curious about what a solar conference is. I feel like that could be a lot of things.
I would guess solar power.
Right. That's what I would guess too. It could just be like sun worshippers.
It could. That's one way to go. I hadn't considered that option, but thank you.
Yeah, they're pagan worshippers. They're worshiping Mithra, the sun god.
I thought, who's Ra, the sun god? Is that Egypt?
That's Egypt,
the
yeah.
Egyptian god.
I'm sure it's all related to the same god.
Where did I pull that little piece of Ra? Where did that come from out of my brain? I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about microphones.
Well, your email back to Warren was kind of like, don't get a wireless mic.
I hate dealing with wireless. I mean, unless you're gonna. I mean, I think if you spend, I don't know, what, $1,000, maybe you can get a decent wireless mic.
Yeah, I just bought a Sennheiser wireless mic because I knew I was going to need one for a shoot coming up, and I think I already had the receiver, and all I had to buy was the transmitter and the mic, and I think together it was in like the $400 or $500 ballpark.
Yeah. I have played with low-end wireless equipment. It is not worth it. It just does not work.
Yeah. And even this expensive Sennheiser lav, I've used it in the past, and I wasn't always happy with the performance of it. It was only recently that I realized, oh, I'm not supposed to just pick a random frequency. There is a setting in there called Easy Setup where you're supposed to scan all the frequencies and let it tell you what's a good frequency to choose with, I guess, limited interference.
Well, that's probably helpful.
Yeah.
So what was the Sennheiser mic you bought?
I'll put it in the show notes at Hey.film because I don't remember the exact model number, but it's this EW series of wireless mics. They make stick mics and lav mics, and they're all this EW series. I also learned that you can, once you've set the frequency on the transmitter, you can hold it up to the receiver and push sync. There's like in the settings, and it uses infrared to tell the other pack what frequency to switch to.
Oh, that's handy.
So all in all, it takes about 90 seconds to like scan and then sync, and then you should be good. And I used it at a recent conference that I went to, and it worked okay. But I'm kind of scared of that, the idea of relying on wireless. So I was thinking, if Warren is filming this person and they're already up on a lectern with a microphone talking to the audience, I would try to talk to the sound guy and plug into the board. Yeah.
And then what I have always done is, find a really small audio recorder and then get, I think I had a $50 Sony lav mic that just plugged in straight to the audio recorder and slipped the audio recorder in a pocket, just like a mic pack. That way there's no wireless involved. You're just recording straight to a little micro SD card, and you can pull it later.
Well, yeah, anytime I record audio, I like to have some redundancy. So just think about, is there a way to mic this person and get the soundboard, or could you put a wireless mic on this person and also put a microphone near the speaker system? I would just get a backup somehow, even if it's not an ideal recording.
Yep.
We have a YouTube comment from Matter Graphica about ProRes RAW, which we've been talking about in recent weeks, and he's wondering what with video is the benefit of shooting RAW. Is it the same as shooting photos where you get extra dynamic range?
Yes.
That's right. Let's move along. No, I think that's pretty much it. You're instead of video frames with video compression, you're actually shooting individual photographs, 24 times a second or 30 times a second. And I think a common version of RAW is Cinema DNG, so they're DNG image files.
Yep.
And I think like DaVinci Resolve knows that when it sees a ton of DNG files with the same file structure prefix, it just treats them as one video file, but it really is just a ton of images.
Now this next email, Griffin, I've been looking at, and I just feel like, I know it's my turn to read a question, but I feel like you're really gonna bring a little more to it than I could, so I'm gonna let you take it away.
I don't even know if I can bring that much to it. This is an email we got from John Cochran, who we've gotten a lot of emails from him over the years. He's actually been really helpful because he's from Brisbane, Australia, and he always likes to share Aussie language tips with us.
Which I love.
So his email begins, "G'day, Griffo. G'day, Nico."
Griffin's a pro.
Which I think John himself told me a year ago when I was going to Australia that Aussies like to abbreviate names and add O. So Griffo, Nico. He says, "Hope you're all doing well. I've been flat out like a lizard drinking," which means he's been busy. I guess you can imagine like a little lizard tongue just going to town.
I love it.
So John has a question about over-ear headphones. He's looking at purchasing a new set of headphones for recording with his Panasonic GH5, and he wanted to know what we think would be a reasonably priced. He's looking at the Sennheiser HD280 Pro, which I had never heard of those.
Okay.
Had you ever seen these before?
I haven't, not those particular ones. I mean, that's a pretty common monitor headphones. I had a pair of Sennheisers that I liked very much. I think that would probably be a good choice. Though
they look like super padded.
Right.
And they're also only $100. And when I just click through to B&H, I see the reviews are 4.5 stars. And I feel like anytime something is decently priced and it has great reviews, I'm pretty comfortable saying it must be good.
Yep. And I would recommend, I mean, the most common recommendation you see, and I'm sure what you're about to say is the go-to Sonys, right?
Yeah, I've had the Sony MDR V6s for a long time. I've actually had a couple pairs of them, and they're the same price, equally highly reviewed. So, I don't know, probably just brand preference. Do you like Sony or you like Sennheiser? I'm sure they're equally great.
Yep.
But then I also told him about one of our favorite websites. You're always telling me to check out the Wirecutter.
I love the Wirecutter.
And if you've never heard of the Wirecutter, it's a website that tries to make these purchase decisions for you, make them simple by not saying, here are a ton of great wireless or great headphones. We've just looked at all of them and we've decided this is probably the one you want. So if you want a TV, buy this one. If you want headphones, buy this one. And they do it through hours and hours of testing. So I can't say that I've tested all these headphones, but I bet the Wirecutter has. And what did they come up with?
They recommend the Sony MDR 7506, which is a similar headphone to the one that you recommend.
How much does that one cost?
$100. Actually, it's on sale right now for $80 from Amazon.
Oh, wow.
Per the
Cool.
Wirecutter.
Yeah.
So the only thing, I would say is, the Wirecutter is consumer reviews, and the needs of a audio video professional might be slightly different. Like, it's not just for like listening and enjoying music. We're doing some critical editing, so you might want something a little flatter, though. Just the quick read makes it look like this is a pretty flat headphone, so that's good.
And honestly, I've done a ton of audio monitoring over the years while on professional projects, just using Apple AirBuds or earbuds, the regular earbuds. Because, a lot of times you just need to hear it. You don't need to hear it perfectly. You just need to know, am I getting static or wind noise? You can hear all those things in cheap headphones too.
Now, if you're mastering your audio, you might want a real set of headphones to tweak EQs and all that kind of jazz.
And occasionally when I'm in the field at like a really loud convention or something, it is nice having big cup earphones that kind of block out the outside, so I really know what I'm getting.
Yep.
Sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
Don't remember.
When you're editing.
Oh, when I'm editing, I would use Apple earbuds all the time, but then I always give it a listen with good headphones for a final mix.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before. I always like mixing how I'm hearing my audio because I know that my audience is going to experience it through Apple earbuds, through nice headphones, through speakers. And if I find I'm editing with just one audio source, I usually get the mix wrong.
Yep.
Because it won't sound good on worse headphones.
We did it.
That's our final tip of the day.
Again. Well, thanks everybody. It has been a pleasure, Griffin. I'm glad your mom's okay. Let us know if you need anything.
Yeah, I appreciate all the kind words I've gotten from people, and I'll let you know if we need any help. But so far, I think everything's under control.
Very good. We will talk to you next week.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Right. Bye-bye.
Let me start rolling video here. Is your Cubs logo still there?
It's not.
Okay, cool.
It's not. There's a big shelf there now.